All right, welcome, man. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing, Talib? Good to see you. It's really
You
good seeing
too.
you.
You too, man. I'm excited to have this conversation because we talked in February or thereabout, um, and when we left off, you had won an Ambi, but since then you've accomplished much more, and we want to get into that today as well.
Yeah, and I was very, and then obviously since then too, we also put together, you put together down the road.
Mm-hmm.
We put
Mm-hmm.
together the awards circuit map, which is such a great resource, such an
Yeah.
underrated thing for us to have that I think will grow in traction down the line. But then I made, as a part of that, a 22-minute video
Mm-hmm.
that got some really good feedback, got some really good responses. But now I want to kind of expand on what that was, not just for myself and some other things that I learned in some of the wins that you're talking about, but also just the expansion. There's certain awards that I didn't have time in 22
Mm-hmm.
minutes to cover.
Mm-hmm.
If you were one of the very few who were privy to the original draft, which was like 45 minutes, there were
Mm-hmm.
some things that we decided were better, left on the cutting floor that I can kind of cover in a better way, if that makes sense. I think you know
Yeah.
what I mean by
Yeah,
better
for
way.
sure. For sure. Well, just like our creativity, this industry and what I really appreciate about it is that it is ever evolving. And so, we may think that we have it and it's done. We got all the information we need, and then the next week something new has happened, and that's pretty much the territory when it comes to podcasting. So knowing that this is going to ever evolve, not only with how we create what we create, but also the goal is the consumption and the understanding of what an audio drama really is and um, what it what it takes to create such a medium, but also how we can better amplify it as we move this forward. So I'm looking forward to this conversation today, man, and I'm looking forward to really supporting other audio drama creators. But as you said, at the same time, it's a mutual benefit, right?
Yep.
We're learning as we go and grow with this. So back to you being super busy. Right? So you won at the LA Web Fest the Outstanding Podcast Award. You picked up some multiple PopCon nominations, and you recently was a part of the Atlanta Fringe Audio, which are some really cool things. And again, like you said, wasn't specifically covered, but we've learned some things, right? And so that's
Yep.
the awesome thing about this. So along the way, you become one of the people I know who pays closer attention to this, which is, why we have started to really collaborate and have this conversation. So let's start here. What pulled you down your own rabbit hole when it comes to the awards circuit itself?
Um, I it's something I'm going to talk about later on. I don't have a problem as a creative, like saying out loud I want awards. Like I don't have that issue the way certain artists have it. It's
Mm-hmm.
not something. It's, and I don't mean to say that as a like I'm better than everybody else. I think that's part of it. People look at awards as they're trying to say that they're better than other people, and that's not why I want them. I
Yeah.
want them as a representation of what I do and the craft that we have. Um, and what pulled me into wanting to do this is just my interest in pursuing them and my interest in how they work. There's an educational benefit to your own path as it pertains to goals. One of my biggest things that I find myself doing more and more when I'm talking to other people in audio fiction, when I'm talking to people in entertainment, period. What are your goals?
Yeah.
What do you want to achieve? What do you want to accomplish? If you're just trying to rinse and repeat someone else's template, it can lead to disappointment. It
Yeah.
can lead to confusion. It can lead to lack of identity. And uh, part of why I'm doing this, part of why I pursue it, part of why I encourage other people to pursue it, part of why I try to educate people on how to do it it's a part of like establishing your own lane. On no awards, you compete with other people, but it's really your own lane and
Yeah.
your own construction of your own career. I'm just as interested in that as I am interested in creating, the actual audio fiction itself.
Yeah, for sure, man. And when you first won the Ambi, were you thinking about war strategically like you are now, or were you simply kind of starting off with your submissions and work and hoping for the best?
So for my goals, I wanted to win a as prestigious of an award as possible, closest to the Oscars, because I still want an animated series and or a fighting game series. You can get a fighting game series, a fighting game video game. That's what I'm talking about. Like that big old Street Fighter poster in my background. Video games are so cinematic and immersive these days that it's kind of like having an animated series plus anyway. So, but if Netflix, I'm still working. I still have a communication with Netflix. I still have communications with Crunchyroll. And if they decided that, if it ever got to that point with them, I wouldn't say no. It would definitely. But so when I was pursuing not just the Ambies, but just anything that would put more attention on my work, and then specifically things that are like peer reviewed, peer related, people who are doing what I'm doing, holding up, you're like, okay, here's Aaron's stuff, and then here's all of the other stuff that's out there in our craft, and how does it stack up? And okay, now it stacks here. I can take what was said, what was awarded, back to the people that I'm pitching to, and say, this is provable. This is what I'm making. I basically made in the same format, 22-minute, 30-minute, per episode, the same way you would an animated series on a streaming platform or on a television network, the old school television networks. So when I won the Emmy, it wasn't necessarily like I want to win this Emmy because I want to show everybody how great I am. It's I want to, once I found out that this thing was like was our Oscar, was our Academy Award, that I could use this to again, going back to what I said about goals, my overall goal. I can then take this. See this? This is not just some other script that you're going to get in a pile somewhere, somebody pitching this to you. This is something that's out, people like, it's been awarded at the highest possible level that it can be awarded in. What do you think?
Yeah.
And, I can't control whether they say yes or no, but I can, play my cards and let them make their choice.
Yeah. Create your own narrative, that without your own pursuit and intentionality behind it, just is a part of, something that you've created, but you haven't really crafted anything around it that says, yes, this stands up. And I believe in it enough to submit it for an award, because I think that's important too for a lot of creators, not even standing by the work that they do for whatever the reasons. And there's a multitude of reasons because of that. So I always appreciate, and I've so said this to you before, that when people like yourself show up and are very intentional and say, I'm not shy about saying I want an award for what I create, it presents that possibility for others to say, what a novel idea. I've created something and I really love it as well. And I'll stand by it enough to say, let me submit this and see where we can go with this. So I think that's really important. It's an important message in general, and you being the creator that you are, I think it's very, very necessary to say it out loud.
Yeah, I do too. And again, I think part of it is, as creators, creators are the opposite of athletes. We're the opposite of. I spent some time as a sports writer for it was my first job out of college. But my writing itself, when I was in college, I was a creative writer, and then I switched into journalism to pay the bills while I was working on writing. And I got to experience the athlete mentality for like the first time. Is how they go about, these are my goals, this is what I want to achieve, and this is what I want to win. Championship. I want to win this championship. I want to win it for my team. I want to win it for my city, my school, my state. whatever it is, I want whatever the organization, whatever it is, that's what I want to win it for. And it's a very confident type thing.
Yeah.
Whereas the creative awards, and like I said, like the closest thing I can give to people that would be the most relatable would be the Oscars. There's this, and I hate calling it false, but there is this sort of this alternate way of saying you want to win without saying you want to win.
Mm-hmm.
There's a, you know what I mean? Like to kind of say, well, it really doesn't matter. I just want to be able to, be recognized by my peers, which is part of it. But I just think it denies the humanity of what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're a human being, and
Mm-hmm.
human beings want things, and it's fine to want things. If you want 100,000 views on a video, if you want to win the highest achievement that you can possibly get, if you want to say that your thing stands above other great things, there's nothing wrong with that. But there's just thing, because you want to be respectful to your peers, and you want to be respectful to the people who are making the things that you're making. And there's just this weird dichotomy that happens with creatives that make them kind of come at it a little more passively.
Yes. Yeah.
But underneath all of that, a lot of people, I should say a lot of people, I believe that other creators feel the same way that I feel. They're just not saying it because there are these sort of industry or societal barriers behind a creative person wanting to be awarded for something that they created.
Yeah.
Athletes don't have the same that at all. There's no.
Yeah, well, that's for athletes. And for athletes, that's the point of the game in general, right? Is to come out with one, be competitive, and two, to come out with something to show for it at the end of the season. And so, as you are saying, I mean, and simply, it's a mindset, right? It's a mindset and the way in which the game is constructed. And so, this is why we're here, to have this conversation about the fact that, as creatives, putting your heart and your soul and your mind and your intention and your talent behind something, you get to be in that same game if you so choose. And so that's why we've laid this out here for you, both on Down the Road Media and, of course, on the webinar and the Vimeo, and also on the site. So speaking about the Oscars and obviously the recognition of that name, most creators know the Ambies, maybe even the Audies.
Yeah,
definitely the Webby Awards. But you discovered that ecosystem is much bigger than that.
Yeah.
When did you realize there was an actual circuit?
Honestly, I think it was in doing what I'm doing with what I was doing with Tales of Fists and Fireballs, which that was what the project that won the Ambi in 2025 for those that are watching this for the first time. As I was putting it together and seeing what a tight-knit group, just like in Hollywood, they say it's a small town. In Hollywood, I say it's a small town. Audio fiction, for better or worse, audio dramas, audio fiction, for better or worse, is a niche. And niches have, the one good thing about niches is that it creates a community where people know each other through knowing each other. They know each other through their work. They know each other through other people knowing their work. And things kind of get, spread around where it's not as convoluted as like an audiobook. Audiobooks, there's a wide range of audiobooks that are out there. Audio dramas, there are a lot of them that are out there, but the ones that end up on those web festivals that I talked about, the film festivals that I talked about, the web fest like LA Web Fest, the web fest like New Jersey Web Fest, the ones like the one in Sydney and New Zealand and Rio and things of that nature, Toronto. We're all kind of traveling the same roads. And you find that out in films too. It's the same way with films. A lot of the people that I, went and did my screenplays before I was getting into this, and I was doing screenplays, and I was going to Nashville, and I was going to Cleveland and Columbus. The Columbus Black Film Festival was awesome. When I'm on these circuits, I end up seeing a lot of the same faces. and you end up sort of in the same community, and then they'll tell you, hey, are you submitting for this one too? I'm like, I never heard of that one before.
Yeah.
And then I'll tell them about something, and I never heard about that before. You know what I mean? There are people who didn't realize that you could take your audio drama that you publish, if you publish it through Podbean or publish it through Spreaker, that you get an Amazon Music push out, and that Amazon Music RSS push out will also land on Audible, and then you can take that Audible link and submit to the Grammys, which I did in 2025, and the Audies, which I haven't done that yet. We'll see if I still submit there. That's education that people who like Jana Naomi Smith, who does Red for Revolution, she didn't even know that was a thing. She didn't even know her own podcast, her own 2-time Ambie Award-winning podcast. She won it in 2026 for Best Fiction Podcast. She didn't even realize that she was on Audible this whole time.
Yeah.
Because we don't, but we're a community, and we're sharing knowledge with each other, even as and I'm put this in air quotes, even as we're competing with each other on different showcases in these different areas. It's a friendly and it's a healthy competition in the healthiest way, in the healthiest way, where we literally are helping each other and boosting up each other. Even when one person wins the award and the other person doesn't, but they win something else, someplace else, and you support them, and love on them the way they loved on you. So I don't know if that answered the question fully, but
yeah, it definitely does. And I think one of the benefits of someone like you is that you are informed from the other verticals, other industries. Whereas some folks who are podcasters or audio drama creators, they come in from that angle, period. They've never been in any other verticals or any other industries to even understand some of the things that you understand about film and television, and why these are already infrastructures and industries that's already set up for like the end of an actor's life or during their career. They're absolutely expecting a nomination. Absolutely. Or why else are they there, right?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
go
off.
ahead, please,
I just posted on my Instagram. I rarely put anybody else's stuff on there on my Instagram besides my own, but Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson recently did an interview with Esquire where he was talking about, I'm paraphrasing, but he was talking about the disappointment of not getting nominated for an Oscar. He got nominated for a Golden Globe, but he didn't get nominated for an Oscar for his movie, The Smashing Machine, in which he, takes a different kind of character to play as opposed to the big action star that he typically plays in most of his big budget movies. Worked with someone who is a director who was more of an indie person. He went on his first sort of award circuit. He went to Venice and I think he went to Toronto as well for that festival. And he was very honest. Again, I'm paraphrasing, but he was very honest about, hey, this matters. I wanted to be nominated for an Oscar. It didn't happen. It hurt that it didn't happen, but it also lit a fire in me, and I want to get back to work.
Yeah.
I was so impressed that, and I get it, it's The Rock. He's sort of sports adjacent too, because he came from playing college football in Miami, and then in pro wrestling, everything is about, being, larger than life. But still, hearing an artist of his caliber say what I really feel a lot of folks, even Denzel, I love Denzel Washington. He kind of is a little wishy-washy to me when I hear various quotes about him and the Oscar. On one hand, he'll find quotes of him saying, I don't really put that much stock in the Oscar. People ask me where my Oscar is, and I'll tell them it's next to the other one, and I'll just move on and leave her there, on one hand. And on the other hand, he'll have quotes like how certain losses and even certain wins kind of ate him up, that he won for things he shouldn't have won for and lost for things he should have won.
Yeah.
He said that in quotes too. And I actually think his true, and I guess this is me inferring, I don't know him, but just my thought on humanity, I think his mindset is actually closer to the latter opinion than it is of the former opinion. And I think but again, it's a societal thing where it's like, if you're an artist and you win an award, saying that you won this award or being, out front about it is this very like icky, cringy sort of thing. And I think there's a way. Number one, there's a way to do it that I don't think is cringy, or at the very least, it's not going to be cringy to everybody.
Right.
Some people may look at some of the stuff that I post about myself and they're going to think it's cringy. Okay. But the vast majority of people that know me, rock with me, know what my journey is, know my path, and especially my peers in the game, they know that, the way I celebrate and what I'm doing, it's not trying to like show anybody up. It's like general exuding of what I do. So
Yeah.
that's one thing. But then the other thing is like, and I'll say this and I'll pass the mic back to you. Because audio fiction is niche, I think it benefits us to be out there and be upfront. It benefits us to say, hey, come get this spotlight on me and get the spotlight on this craft. And then once you're like in it, there are these other things you can find that are awesome. I think it benefits to have some more confidence in what we do, as opposed to kind of living in the shadows of it all and kind of letting people make their own choices. I think there's a balance we can have.
Absolutely. It benefits the whole when one person is recognized truly. And then, all of the different awards that are available and the opportunities that are available now, it only benefits the whole. And for me, that's a mindset in general. And that doesn't, it phases a lot of us, unfortunately, because of their socialization and our construct. But again, that's why folks like yourself that says, look at what I did, it's so important. And it not only presents possibility, but when I talk about in the beginning of how the industry is evolving itself, we have to recognize that we are a part of the evolution. Without us presenting the work, publishing the work, winning the awards, and also informing other organizations and infrastructure of how this gets to be approached and dealt with and recognized and pushed forward, we are evolving it, each of us that are part of this craft. So, I'm here for anyone celebrating and being proud of the work that they do, because why not? And without us doing that, what are we saying about the art form in and of itself? It's something to celebrate.
Yeah. I also was gonna, I don't know, I want to let you steer the conversation a little bit, but I do want to cover there's some other things around awards that are a bit stigmatized, especially in today's realm of podcasting. Podcasting has become, and I'm not talking just about audio fiction, I'm talking about the broader podcasting space now. It's become such a cash grab for a lot of people and a lot of organizations. And that includes certain award programs. There's submission fees involved with submitting your work for entry for any award, for most awards you're going to enter. There might be other fees associated with it as well. And sometimes, and what I'm finding, I spoke to a really good friend of mine a couple of weeks ago, and she was basically saying, I didn't know that, I just thought that you made something, and people, the esoteric awards people just kind of reach their hand out and say, we'd like to celebrate you. Like, that's how there's so many people that think that the Oscars work that way, the Emmys work that way. The Grammys work. They just think that it's just you put something out there, and then there are people who are actually doing the work, the artists themselves, these bigger artists who think that they know something is going on, but they're not, because they have other people to do it for them. They're so much bigger that they have other people doing it like for them, that they don't realize that money is being spent, or that forms are being put out, you know? And so there's just so much, there's a lot of I don't want to say miseducation. There's a lot of non-education about how awards work. And then because of the lack of education, you then get uninformed opinions about
Correct.
what you
Correct.
should and shouldn't do. And my instinct when I first, this is what I meant about something that I covered in the first in the first draft of the webinar that I kind of left on the cutting floor, because you were right. When you first listened to it, there was an edge of it wasn't a positive or an uplifting edge that I had on it. It was the opposite of what I was trying to say about like fees and being informed about how things work and being sharper with your goals. You were absolutely correct on your assessment of what I was saying. And it just made me, I took a deeper introspective look at it. I'm no longer going to try to, convince people who think that paying a submission fee is some sort of scam. I'm not going to try to evangelize and try to correct them like that anymore. That was part of why when I first tried to do that, it didn't work, because it was coming from a place that wasn't an enriching place. It was coming from a place coming from a place of frustration. And I'm not going to put myself there. What I will do is I will present what I have, what I knew about in my own experiences. And when I get the chance, I want to take you like by the numbers.
Yeah, and we're definitely going there. We might as well go there now, right? Okay. So let's talk about the money for a minute, because definitely creators get nervous around that area for a multitude of reasons. Again, we can never pinpoint one reason for any individual. We just know that there are a lot of reasons people think and do and behave the way that they do, right? But most independent creators are already funding their own productions, paying actors, editors, hosting. Then somebody says submit to an award. What's the financial reality of participating in the circuit? That's the first thing. Again, you said you want to take it by the numbers. And when did you start looking at award submissions as an investment rather than an expense?
So like you said, my experience comes from mediums that aren't just audio fiction. Mm-hmm. My master's degree is in creative writing with a specialization in screenwriting. My original goal was to write for an animated series. I wanted to get that degree. I wanted to write as many screenplays as I could, move out to Los Angeles, work for an animation studio of some sort, work my way up the totem pole so that, I could become a writer or creator of my own animated series. That was what I wanted to do. That was the boom, 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 boom. That's what I wanted. And so in doing so, and you're writing these screenplays, you learn about screenplay competitions. There's a website called Film Freeway that if you are a film, if you work in film at all, especially if you work in independent film, you know what Film Freeway is. It is a aggregator of all of the film festivals and now web festivals that are looking for projects, films, short films, feature films, documentaries, and now podcasting, audio fiction, verticals, all the different things that are out there that you can submit to. Or that you can, present or watch at a festival. And when you do that, you pay a submission fee. You pay a submission fee. You have your work. In my case, it was screenplays that I had. I had a collection of screenplays. Some of them were short. Most of them were short screenplays. Some of them were like pilot episodes to a potential television show. And I was submitting those. I've been submitting to film festivals my scripts and my other projects since 2013. I've been submitting since 2013. So to go by the numbers, to start just from film festivals, I'm not going to talk about the other stuff like the Ambies and the Webbies and all of that stuff that I started submitting in 2019. I'll give you from 2013 to 2026. From 2013 to 2026, I have personally submitted to 91 film festivals.
Wow.
From that point, yeah, I'm just making sure I got the number right. Yep, 91 film festivals since 2013. And that's actually not a lot compared to my filmmaking contemporaries. Some people have submitted like, up to 400 and 500 from that point. Mine is actually a lot smaller because I've always known that the work that I do is it's been different and a little niche. Even within filmmaking, even within audio dramas, my stuff is very niche. So there's not going to be a whole lot of places that are there's not going to be 400 places for my work to fit in, period. Again, so kind of going back to what I was saying about knowing who you are, knowing your goals. I submitted to 91 festivals. Of those 91 festivals, I was selected. So selected means an official selection, a nomination, a semifinalist, quarterfinalist, or finalist, or win. I was selected for 43 of those 91. So of 91, 43 of them I was selected for. And then of those 43, I got 11 wins.
Nice. Okay.
So that's the by the numbers in terms of from 2013 to 2026, 91 festival submissions, 43 selected, 11 wins. Now the highest film festival fee that I've ever paid is $90. That's the highest film festival fee that I've ever submitted. Now, the reason why it's not in the hundreds, like maybe some other people are, I was writing screenplays. I wasn't submitting full feature films. And the ones that I was submitting, like I had some a couple of animated projects that I did do. Again, they were shorter. So typically, if you have something longer or something more involved, you might pay a little bit more. And it's just like with the Ambies and things of that nature, where there's an early deadline, a regular deadline, and a late deadline. This particular one, it wasn't a late deadline. It's just there are a little more for that festival. It was a little bit more on the expensive side. I spent $90. The lowest that I've ever paid that wasn't free, because I've submitted to a lot of free ones too. There are, believe it or not, y'all, there are free film festivals that you can submit to. But the lowest that I've ever paid that wasn't free was $10. And that was for, and I'll put them out there. They're a festival called the Urban Action Showcase. They highlight not only Black and Brown and LGBTQ minorities, but they also, it's a focus on like action event. It's like right up my alley.
Nice. Okay.
So I submitted to them multiple times. I submitted to them like maybe 4 times since 2013. That's the highest I've ever paid was $90. The lowest I ever paid that wasn't free was $10. Again, so it's already ingrained in me that since 2013, it's already been ingrained in me. There are these festivals out there. Some of them are Oscar qualifying, meaning, like I said this in the webinar, if you were submitting a film to that festival and that film won their top award, if it won best short or best documentary or best animation, then it would qualify to be put on the list for the Oscars, for the Academy Awards, eligible to be shortlisted, and then from shortlisted be nominated. So it's those are legit festivals. And then there's some that aren't Oscar qualified. Just because it's not Oscar qualified doesn't mean it's not a legit one either. There are, just like anything else, there are, good ones, bad ones, skeevy ones. You just kind of, again, you do your research and work it out. So that was those are festivals. That's festivals. But then you have, like I said, in 2019, that's when I started submitting to some of those major media competitions, like the Ambies, like the Emmys, like the Grammys. And I can run through that real quick, if you don't mind.
No, please.
So for the non-festival competitions, those not the ones that I said 91 for, I have submitted to the Primetime Emmys 3 times. I have submitted to the Children and Families Emmys. I've submitted to the Peabody Awards for podcasting. I submitted to the iHeart Podcast Awards. I submitted to the Image Awards, the NAACP Image Awards, twice. Submitted to the Black Podcasting Awards, twice. I submitted to the Grammy Awards. I submitted to the Producers Guild of America, twice. I submitted to the Ambies, twice. I submitted to the Voice Arts Awards, twice. I submitted to the Signal Awards, the Webby Awards, twice. I submitted to the Popcorn Podcast Awards, twice. Now, of that list, that's 14 competitions. That's 14 competitions. I was selected. When I mean selected, I mean either I made the ballot, I was nominated, or I won. I made the ballot 6 times.
Okay.
Excuse me, I was selected 6 times. So, and then of those 6 times, my wins, really my biggest win is the Ambie. The other stuff has been nominations. So again, and then let me go through the fee for that. The highest that I've ever paid for those competitions, the highest I paid was $465. That was a late fee to the Webbies. The Webbies are a wonderful organization. They are, but they will kill your bank account if you're not careful. You got to really know your goals and really understand what that award is about before you submit to them, before you submit to any award, but especially if you're going to pay that kind of money. The lowest that I ever paid, again, that wasn't free. The lowest I ever paid for an award like that wasn't free, because the iHeart Podcast Awards are free.
Okay.
But the lowest I ever paid was $15, and I'll put them out there. It's to the PopCon Podcast Awards. That's the lowest I've ever paid. And so again, I had all of this ingrained in me since 2013. This has been just part of it of what I do since 2013. It's not all of these organizations that I've submitted to, I've done my due diligence on, research. It's not a scam. I can just tell you the things that it's not a scam. It's, to your point, it's an investment. Just because you go to school and you pay for tuition doesn't guarantee you an A. Just because you submit to an award, no matter how much you paid for it, no matter how little you paid, doesn't mean you're guaranteed to get something. And then even if you got something, it doesn't let you into the Illuminati and give you all of these awards and give you all of this access to money and fame and all of this stuff. But there's a lot of miseducation. There's a lot of lack of education and uninformed opinions that will just look at an award and just say, well, it's not the Oscars, not really themselves knowing what the Oscars is. It's not the Emmys. It's not on television. It's not, and they'll look at it and this doesn't seem like it's right to add this kind of money or any kind of money. It just doesn't seem right. There's this sort of, well, it's unbecoming to ask for people who make, these things, these projects. It's unbecoming to ask for money. Well, just put yourselves in those people's shoes. That those ceremonies, those submission fees, those people who are listening to your, in this case for the Ambies, listening to your podcast to weigh it out, some money has to be exchanged in order for that to happen. And how every organization is going to spend that money differently. Everybody's going to spend that money differently. The Voice Arts Awards is an interesting one because it's the one that I've seen get, like, maybe it's a really great award, but it's also gets the most criticism because of the fees that are associated with it. I love the Voice Arts Awards, but I can tell you what people kind of criticize it for. You have a submission fee that's, over $120. That's their lowest fee. Then they have an awards gala that if you were to get nominated for, you still pay the ticket to go to that. Now, when I went this past year, it was amazing. I mean, it's at the same place as the Golden Globes. It's at the Beverly.
Yeah, they spending money. They spending money on the person who creates the events. They spending money.
Hanson, Lawrence Fishburne's there, and Angela Bassett was there. James Earl Jones' son was there, and so then you pay for that, and then on top of that, if you win, there is a trophy that you would then pay for. Very similar to how the Signals does it. The Signal Awards, if you want that trophy, it's an optional thing. You pay for it. Now, the optics make it look like, well, they don't make you pay for the Oscar award. They don't make you pay for the Emmy. So the fact that they're quote unquote making you pay, that must be scammy. It's how they allocate the money that goes to their organization.
Yeah.
It's how they do it. And if you're not comfortable with it, you're not comfortable with it. But it doesn't negate the process. It doesn't negate the judging. It doesn't negate you know, it's not like you're going to the grocery store and you get what you spend. Because
Yeah.
that's what people think of a lot of these awards. They think it's just, well, you pay this money and you kind of get what you spend, and that's not right. But that's not what's happening. That's just I'm just telling you. I went to these. As I went through the numbers and I went through the events, that's not what's happening.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll say before I kind of turn it back over to you, just for some disclosure reasons, I mentioned that I submitted to the Primetime Emmys 3 times. I am a member of the Television Academy. And so what that means is I get one free submission per year if I have a project. So there was one year that I did pay, but that was because I had 2 projects that I submitted. It was one that was like solely for myself. And then there was a Martin Luther King Jr. project that I submitted with a friend of mine who was, we collaborated and worked. So I did pay, it was $150. But if you're not a member of the Television Academy, which surprisingly, not everybody who submits to the Emmys are members of the Television Academy, there is a minimum. I was submitting it to a smaller category. It's $150. There is no late fee, early fee, none of that. It's just one fee. Here's the deadline. But I wanted to say that, in full disclosure, that I do. I did submit. I do have advantages. There are certain advantages I have in certain areas, but then there are advantages that everybody else has. Like I mentioned, the iHeart Podcast Awards are free, and maybe people see them as more legitimate because they're free. But they're iHeart. They're $1 billion company.
Right.
They can afford their trophies. They can afford their ceremonies. They can afford to bring in people. And then you can look at the iHeart Awards and say, well, there still could be a conflict of interest if the nominees are produced by iHeart. You could say, and I don't believe that there is, but I'm saying the optics, you could say that. So
sure.
I hope that I hope that wasn't too ranty.
No, I think again, this is a POV, and it's a POV from someone who has experienced it. This is also lived experience. So, as we discussed prior to this conversation in other conversations, whatever it is, however it hits your ear, it's still necessary information. Yeah. Especially if your trajectory is similar, especially if you have goals that are connected to this. Scarcity is a mindset, and we have to recognize when that is also in the building, along with our goals. And, this is just me as who I am, the founder, coach to creators and entrepreneurs, that a lot of things that hold us back become, we're in the way. And it's a lot of not being open to conversations such as this. And so this is necessary. So I say all that to say, no, this is why we're having this conversation. I appreciate it. And I do have some follow-ups with that. Has winning and being selected changed how you think about where you spend your dollars when it comes to your submissions? And what have you learned about being selective? Because I can imagine at some point you can't submit to everything.
You shouldn't. It's the other thing I was saying about goals. What are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? I can't speak for everybody else. I can speak for me. I mentioned earlier at the top of this, I wanted to either do it or get as close to it. A fighting game, animated series. That's me. All of this stuff you see in the background next to the awards is Godzilla and Street Fighter and Samurai Showdown and nerdiness all around me. I want an animated series. I want a fighting game. I want stuff like that. That's what I want. That's what I want. And I want to associate the greatness of winning the highest achievements possible in order to get there. So when I'm looking at different awards, when I'm looking at different places to submit my work, does that particular organization have the cachet, I should say? Does it have the look that I'm looking for? So I'll be full disclosure. A couple of weeks ago, I had one of my follow-up meetings with Netflix. They were my first meeting in this new office space.
All right.
And they don't know that much about what the audio awards are. The guy that I'm connected with, he knows what I'm doing and knows what, all the different things I'm doing. And I just won that LA Wet Fest award.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does he know that much about the LA Wet Fest? Probably not. But look back there and look at how great that looks above the Street Fighter thing. Look at how, man, that guy looks like he's a winner. Even though I just went through and said all the stuff that, I submitted to 91, 43 selected, 11 wins. It looks like I'm this, but seeing that back there and seeing the wins associated with the ambi, which you absolutely know what the ambi is. But then seeing the other stuff, it's like, wow, that guy, I can take that guy seriously. So when he tells me he wants to do, if I pitched to them, I want him, if they had a Tekken, they had a Tekken animated series. If I say, hey, let me on the writing staff for the season 2 of the Tekken, if you got it coming, they can take me seriously.
Yeah.
So, what other awards, if either A, the award is like the Urban Action Showcase, where it's, I'm going to a place where my peoples are. I'm going to a place that other people want to see the fighting games, and other people want to see the anime, and other people want to see the animated series that I rock with. Will the award take me to a place like that?
Yeah.
And or will the award make what I do look better? Look better when I'm going to Crunchyroll, when I'm going to Netflix, when I'm going to pitch stuff to wherever I'm going to pitch.
For sure.
Boost my resume and make it look, give it the aesthetic of, I don't know all of the stuff that you're doing, but boy, it smells good over there.
Yeah. And I really appreciate that approach. And it's more of a statement than anything that you aren't talking about awards as validation. It does present and open up possibilities and opportunities for your own craft to evolve. Like you started in a whole different trajectory with your creativity and your talent. And now here you are in audio drama fiction. That means that could also evolve, right? But you start somewhere, you have something to work with and to present. So I really appreciate that perspective, especially for other creators who are thinking about this. And I want to zoom out a bit before we have to wrap this up. You've been inside this ecosystem for a while now, like you said, since 2013, and now, really moving into the scripted audio fiction world. You won, you've lost, you've been nominated, you've been rejected, as you mentioned. What do creators misunderstand most about that process?
Rejection is not personal. Rejection often can be, I've been in rooms where I've been a judge. I've judged for the Emmys, I've judged for film festivals. I haven't quite yet judged for any podcasting competitions. I'm sure that'll come down the line, but it's not a personal, your stuff sucks thing.
Yeah.
It's more often than not a fit. There's a program that's being put on. There's a program that's happening. It's not just, we're trying to take the best and, the best, this is the best and this one is not the best. And so we're moving it because it's not the best. Sometimes and a lot more times it's best fit. So when you get a rejection, sometimes and more often than not, it's best fit. Sometimes it's, you're in my case, it was a lot of learning about, like, I kind of put it in weight classes. It's learning about where the weight classes are and how much the Grammys is a good example. Up until I actually submitted, I didn't realize how many projects were being submitted to the Grammys for the category that I was submitting to, for the best narration, recording and storytelling recording category. You were competing with so many other forms outside of audio dramas. And then you're competing with like celebrities who, the judges have maybe 2,000 or 3,000 entries that they're sifting through. And human nature will tell you that they're going to maybe click play for a couple of minutes, or more often than not, they're going to go with the names that they've already are familiar with. So again, it has less to do with like your work being this bad thing. And it has more to do with just the nature of the award that you may have sent it to. Whether it's a fit and they like this work, but they've already curated, maybe by the time they got to your work, they've curated a certain kind of program with a certain kind of flow that while your work is good, it might mess up that flow. And so they pass on it and tell you in that form letter how great they thought your work was. And, it comes off as very pedantic because you might see that kind of form letter repeated over and over again in all kinds of rejections. But the reason why it's formed that way is because they legit, it's not just to let you down easy. They are legit getting hundreds or maybe thousands of really great submissions, and they have to use this sort of hair splitting to decide what they're going to take and what they're not going to take. And you never know how close or how far you were from being selected. So, you can err on the side of, hey, I maybe I was, 2 or 3 points away from getting there. You can err on that. So that's one thing that people maybe don't understand about the process. The other thing I would say that people don't necessarily understand, or not necessarily understand, but again, it's just the information isn't out there, the uninformedness of it all. Like, what it is that you're doing is you're giving yourself a tool to uplift yourself. I said it before, that you're not waiting for the cavalry to come in. You're not waiting for the ship to come in. You're taking ownership of your own ship. And I really mean that. You take your awards, you take your accolades, your nominations as well. You take that and it becomes part of the vehicle that you're driving. It's not the vehicle. The award itself isn't the vehicle. And that goes for even the highest level of awards. I tell this story all the time about how Halle Berry won Best Actress for the Oscar in the I forget what year it was, but she won Best Actress Award at the Academy Awards. One of the few Black people to do it. Thought that it was going to Meryl Streep her career, and it didn't. And it took her a while to figure out how to actually use. Now she went on and later used it to direct her own Netflix movie.
Yeah,
but it's a mindset. It's not something is gonna bless me. I'm going to take this blessing and use it. You get what I'm saying? And again, from that perspective, you going back to what I said, maybe this will be one of my final points. It goes back to knowing what your goals are.
Right.
It goes back to really looking at what it is that you want to accomplish. If you're templating somebody else's career path, if you've gone on, I'm guilty of this. I've gone on Wikipedia and looked at people that I admired and said to myself, I could do it like that, but then I'll just alter it a little bit. That's the worst thing you can do. It's the worst thing you can do is look at somebody else's way of doing it.
Yeah.
And then try to alter it a little bit so that you can't base your career path off of what is being reported about somebody else's.
Correct.
Yeah. You don't know what advantages or what you don't know. So it's about what do you want clearly defined, and then using the awards pursuit to get there.
For sure. And you've said before that independent creators can compete with organizations that have much larger budgets. You've done it yourself. So you were talking definitely around, your own Ambies win, but do you still feel that way today? And what would you say to creators who automatically put themselves out of the game thinking that they can?
That's an interesting question. And the reason why is because I mentioned before, I've been doing this since 2013, submitting places, submitting the awards since 2013. And like you said, I've won, I've not won, I've been nominated, and all the things in between. And it's not so much that you can't compete at all. It's not that at all. But I'll give you the example. The middle award that you see right here next to the Godzilla, the middle award is my Slam Dance award. It's the only of those 11 wins that I got for a film festival. It's the only one that is an Oscar qualifier. It's the only one that I got from a festival that was an Oscar qualifier. I won it in 2023 in a category that was not giving an award. It was not giving an award. I went there with a project called H Squad. It's right here, this family picture right here. It was about my family. It was an animated series about my family that I turned into an interactive thing. And I submitted it to Slam Dance as part of their interactive category. Their interactive category is a non-competitive category. It has no award. There is no, and the best interactive award goes to. But I was so geeked and so excited that I got into an Oscar qualifying festival that I made my own live stream, similar to this. I made my own live stream, and for 2 days, I did a live stream about that project.
Nice. Okay.
And the people there were so impressed by my energy and my, honestly, it was easy for me because it was about my family and it was about that. And so it's easy for me to get passionate about that. But they were so impressed by a guy that nobody else was doing that. Nobody else in that category was doing that. Some people in the category didn't even show up because they knew that it wasn't a competitive thing. And there really wasn't going to be like an award or even a showcase for it. That's why I made mine. And they were so impressed by that, on awards night, when I was there just to be in the presence and celebrate it. And the Spirit Award, that's what it is. It's a Spirit Award. The Spirit Award goes to Aaron David Harris, creator of the H Squad. And it's not like the Ambies where I was like really, yeah, let's go, baby. I wasn't that. I was brought to tears. I literally came there 100%. I'm not winning anything. I'm just here to take advantage of this and do the best that I can with it. And the key to this, the reason why I'm bringing this one up, for this particular year in 2023, for that particular category in Slam Dance, it was free. It was free. And it's represented one of my biggest, it's not free no more, but it's free the year that I submitted it. I say all that to say that sometimes you just do the best you can, and what's for you is there for you. So this idea, like, can you compete? Yes, you can compete. But I'll also say, in conjunction with what your abilities are, there are things, if you just continue to if you have set goals and you believe in your projects and you take advantage of every opportunity that you get. You don't get bougie about, well, it's this award, or well, I spent this money, or well, they charge this, or well, it's a smaller event. If you take advantage of every opportunity available to you, there are just going to be things. Looking back on the 9/2023, that was for me. Free, and they don't do free no more. Win, and they've not awarded that to another interactive project since. That was just for me. It was just there for me, and I was just doing me. I'm just going about it and just doing me. If that may have been over $10 to submit to, I may not have submitted to that.
Yeah.
But it was free, and I was like, hey, I'll do it. So that's what I mean. I hope that answers your question. That yes, you can compete with anybody in the world, big, small, everywhere in between. But do you, and put the maximum effort into doing you. There are things that's gonna come to you regardless of who the competition.
Yeah. You gotta put yourself in the game. That's for sure. That's for sure. I appreciate that. And before we wrap up, let's imagine somebody is watching this live right now, right? And they're an audio drama creator. Maybe they've never submitted to anything. Maybe they're intimidated by the whole process. Maybe they're geeked. Let's go. What's the first step? What should they do this week?
Make it. Take the energy and make it. Like, whatever it is, if you've written something and you feel you really just want to make it, go and make it. Get your phone. I said it before. You don't need a fancy microphone. Get your phone. Start, taping it. Get a friend if you want. If you need other voice actors, get friends, family, whatever. Do it. If you need sound effects, freesounds.org, YouTube library, YouTube audio library for sound effects and music. Do it, upload it.
Yeah.
Do it right there. Right there, you're already eligible for the Voice Arts Awards. Right there, you're already eligible for like a host of various podcasts. You're eligible for the LA Web Fest. You're eligible for just doing that, and you put it out there. I would say just do that. If you haven't written anything, or maybe you're not as confident about doing it, submit to film festivals, to script competitions. Make it into like a traditional screenplay, whether it's a feature or a short, and then look for as many or as few film festivals on Film Freeway to submit your work to. That was probably, again, in hindsight, that was like really a smart thing to build my career off of, which was just, I wasn't in LA yet, and I needed to keep myself in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I can write, I can't do all the stuff that I'm doing now in other places. But I can write. I can, go on to, there are so many free resources for how to write a screenplay, software programs for how to write and format a screenplay. Do that and submit your work to screenplay competitions, because that can still lead to wins for your podcast. A couple of those wins that I have back there, those little coin medallion things that I have, those were from screenplays that later were adapted into episodes of Tales of Fist and Fireballs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So like, even if you only have it in script form, and then later on you can turn it into a full-fledged audio drama, guess what? Those awards will still apply, because you won them for the story that you've produced.
Yeah. Yeah. And man, I really appreciate this. What folks don't recognize is that, or maybe they do, is that this is generous. Like you could be trying to keep this low key and just submitting on your own, being the only one in the category year after year. But it's important, again, where we are actively evolving this as we go. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation with you is why Down the Road Media exists now. And if you want to learn more, for sure, and I hope that you do, I encourage you to do so. You can go to downtheroad.media. Under resources, you'll find the award circuit, where you'll find Aaron's webinar, which is so great and so informational, as well as the audio, the award circuit map that we've built out on audio. Yeah, it's really going to support the creator who wants to move their work forward like that. So it makes this information easier, right, to find for anyone. All audio drama creators, we want this information to be accessible so that we all can push this medium together. It's important to both of us, and I really appreciate your time, and I super congratulate you on all of the things that you have accomplished even since our last conversation, and what you will accomplish after this, because let's be real, and let's end the conversation with this. You have a bigger goal, and that's the EGOT of audio drama, which you've coined as the Triple Crown. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I know we don't have a whole lot of time left, and there's still so many other things that
we're gonna have to part two this, man. We're gonna have other conversations. We're gonna have to.
Yeah, but I will say the Triple Crown, for those who don't know, it's the AMBI, which is the best in podcasting. I would say best in fiction podcasting specifically. The Voice Arts Awards, I talked a little bit about that. I was nominated for it last year. I actually have the pin, the nomination pin right up. It's really small. It's right up under the Street Fighter. It's like sitting right next to the Street Fighter.
All right.
I was nominated for Best Director. We didn't win it, but it was a great time and it was a great experience. And honestly, I didn't know how great that platform was when I submitted. I probably would have committed more like campaigning to it if I had known. And then the audio awards. The audio is for audio books, but because audio books are now these full productions, and some of them don't start off as as books before they become audio books, I feel it appropriate that those three represent the best that what you can achieve as an audio drama, not just from the awards perspective, but also from the prestige, community, and specifically for audio dramas. It gives you the best platforms in terms of ceremony, statue, cachet, there are a lot of great podcasting and other media awards that you could potentially win for your audio drama. But those three that I mentioned, I see that as art, as the highest of high. So yes, it is sort of our EGOT in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And I appreciate it. And again, you've done the work, and you also, this is a part of your pursuit and ambition. And so while, you know, we don't say, as you mentioned before, to follow people's paths, which is also, you know, something that, again, possibility is important. And to see people do what you do, be a living example, go for what you go for, and then show that, see, this is possible. That's important. But what we're really looking for is for people to carve their own path in this work, because it's important and it deserves it. And so again, man, congratulations to what you've done. You're not finished. So that's also the dope part about it. And again, we're going to have some more conversations because
there's so much other stuff. Yeah, there's so much else I want to get to with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, down the road.media, please. That's what the infrastructure is for, the projects, the conversations. We even have a forum on there so that we can have these conversations, so that people can say, oh, I didn't know that. Well, now you do. And once you know something, it's hard for you to unhear it, unsee it, unknow it. And so what we want to do is definitely make this information more accessible, but also just bring the possibilities of what audio drama can create. Because my goal, when we're talking about goals, is to make sure that audio drama has next, right? Yep. And that understanding that it gets to be its own on-demand mainstream medium that comes out of its podcasting shadow, but also, you know, rivals what's already been established in television and film. It can, and why not? And that's the work we're here to do, man. So thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me on this show. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely, man.